Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Just Angie Takeover. Today I have a lovely lady seated to my left. I'm sure you all know her. We're going to be engaging in an amazing conversation just centered around finding your voice, how she's been able to find her voice, through her years in the industry, and just hear her perspective on that take. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, Alpia.
Yes, hi Kambua.
Thanks for having me. My name is Kambua Manundu Mathu. Manundu is my father's name. Mathu is my husband's name. I am a mother, a wife, a lover of Jesus. I'm an artist. I'm a podcaster. I'm a TV host. I am a lot of things, but more than anything, I love Jesus.
Wow, that's such an introduction. But yeah, she's done a lot. So as you can see, last year I attended a panel, and you were speaking on a panel, and the focus was on finding your voice.
Yes.
And I found it very edifying and a lot of insight I got into that journey. And so I remember I messaged you and I was like, I'd like to unpack this a bit more and just explore that topic, because you are such a huge voice in the Christian community, also for young women. I was speaking to my friend, I won't say her name, but she's worked with you on a couple of occasions, and she was like, Kambua is so influential. People buy her collections. Her collections sell out whenever we do collabs with her. So I was just like, there's so much influence that you have.
Thank
and
you.
Your voice carries weight. So I wanted us to just explore a bit more.
Thank you, Althea.
Around
That's
that.
very very kind of
It's
you
true.
to say. Thank you.
Yeah. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So what does finding your voice mean to you?
Finding my voice is finding my uniqueness. How I communicate, how I am heard, how I am understood, but as a unique person, as an individual. And I think that finding your voice, because we think my voice is just what you can hear. You can hear my voice right now, but it's the things that I have been able to do over the years that I can now say it's been a journey of finding my voice. And now, I'm 40. I tell everybody who cares to listen that I'm 40.
Amazing.
So, it's been 40 years of finding my voice, and it gets refined. The older I've gotten, the more refined it's become. I know what I'm about. I know what I want to communicate. I know how I want to be perceived. It's finding your uniqueness.
Yeah. And I think you've segued into my next question, because I was going to ask, can you recall a moment in your life when you felt like you truly found your voice? Is that now at 40s, or can you, before this moment, look back and recall a moment?
So I don't know that I have a moment,
Okay.
but I feel like my 30s, and especially mid to late 30s, is where the shift really began to happen, where I was like, okay, clarity is coming in, like completely coming in. Because before that, I've enjoyed every season of my life so far, but I feel like the 20s were so full of, I cared so much about what people thought. How old are you, Althea?
I'm 30. Hey, okay. I'm still saying I'm 20. I just turned 30 in December.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, but like the 20s have a lot of, you want to do right by everybody. You want to be accepted. So you're always conforming to what people expect you to be.
Yeah.
And then the 30s start coming in, and I'm like, wait a minute, but who am I? What am I about? So that's what 30s felt like for me. So when I hit about 35, 36, I now felt like, okay, wait, this is who Kambua is. Kambua is passionate about women. I'm so clear about that. I'm passionate about women and girls, and I speak clearly to that. I'm passionate about maternal health because I became a mom in my mid 30s, older than most women. I became a mom in my middle age in that sense. So I know the things that are very close to my heart. So that means that because I do, for instance, I do a lot of influencer jobs and it now means that in my 40s, I'm not just plugging onto anybody who wants to offer me a job.
Yeah.
Does it speak to what I want to speak to as well? Because I could say yes to influencing Yonjugu Karanga, but does Yonjugu Karanga align with my vision? It could make me a ton load of money, but is it speaking to my audience? So it's just that clarity, and when it comes, you're able to easily walk away from opportunities that are great but are not for you.
Yeah. I think that's so insightful, and it's a strong person who has to be able to walk away from those opportunities. And I think it comes with age, as you've said, and the truly knowing yourself. But I think that's a process, right? So why do you think maybe people may struggle to discover their voice or their identity, probably in that 20s when they are lost? What is holding them back?
So I like going back to the Bible for everything. Yeah, one of my favorite stories in the Bible is a story of Samuel and Eli. So the backstory being that, and why I'm so invested in the story of Samuel is that I relate to his mother's journey. His mother was Hannah. Hannah had been unable to have children for so many years, and Scripture says that the Lord had closed Hannah's womb. But at the right time, God opened her womb. She had a son called Samuel. And she had told God, when you give me a child, I'll give him back to you.
Yeah.
And she honored that. I love that she honored that. And I always remind myself, Kambua, the Lord gave you what you asked for.
Yeah.
You have to give him back what he gave you.
Yeah.
So Samuel is now back in the temple with Eli, who is the priest at the temple. And he's living there, he's being mentored by this priest. And the first time that Samuel hears the Lord's voice, he had never heard it before. So he didn't know what it's supposed to sound like. So when he heard it, he thought, surely it must be Eli who's calling me. I mean, if you're in a house with somebody, you'd think it must be this person who's calling. So he goes to Samuel, and Samuel's like, I didn't call you. He's probably thinking this guy's dreaming or whatever. Go back to sleep. A second time, did you call me? I didn't call you. The third time, he was like, wait a minute. It's probably this guy is hearing the voice of God. Yeah. And when I think about myself, what finding my voice, there's so much confusion, there's so much noise, and it has taken Eli's in my life, people who have mentored me to tell me, Kambua, this is the direction that you need to go. It's so important to have people who are pointing you in the right direction, who will tell you, actually, it's God speaking and is telling you to do A, B, C, D. As you grow in your walk with God, as you learn to hear Him for yourself. I think the 20s had a lot of confusion just because of all the expectations and all the voices that you're listening to. I mean, if you're telling me, do this, and then this one is saying, do this. No, don't do it like that. No, don't. It's so much, you're overwhelmed. There's a lot of noise. The difference I feel now, 20 years later, is the noise has died down because I'm listening. I've tuned my ear to, God, what do you want me to do? So it doesn't matter if a whole room is saying, do this. My ears are tuned to, God, what do you want me to do? Because I've also learned, Althea, that in the instances where I have ignored the voice of God, and there have been those instances, I've ended up in so much confusion, heartbreak, heartache, and you're coming
unnecessary
back,
drama,
unnecessary, you're bruised, battered, and you're like, help me. And it's like, I've been here all along. But God is so gracious. He doesn't he's not like us who would be like, sinilikwambia,
I told you so.
I told you so. He's not a sadist. He's like, okay, let's fix it. So it's growing. I think that growing in God helps you to quiet that noise, and you're just basically operating at a different altitude.
And I think even as you said, with time, you fine-tuned your ear that you even know how his voice sounds, because you've heard it so many times. It's a familiar.
You're not like,
exactly.
10 years after, you're not like, who is talking? You know who is talking. You know the way that he talks to you. And God speaks to us all in different ways. I've never heard the audible voice of God. I don't know if I will. Maybe I'd love to. I don't know. But I know the ways in which he speaks to me.
Maybe for someone who doesn't understand that, what's like, how do you know? Like, is it a stillness? Like, what is it? How does he speak to you?
So for me, in different ways, I'll say that one piece, the peace of God has always been a big indicator when God is confirming something for me. There's just such a peace about everything. And I'm like, this is God saying, go right ahead with it.
That was for me with my husband. When I was praying about him, we had started dating, and he told me we're in it for marriage. But I had just started becoming more close with God. So I used to do my devotionals. And so I'd pray about the situation every day, because I said, I'm not going to marry the wrong person. And each time I prayed about Mathu, peace. That was my answer. Like other people, I would think, oh, there would just be so much noise or
Yes.
unsteadiness or just a feeling of anxiety maybe.
Mhm.
But with him, I just had peace,
Yeah.
and that's how I knew it was the voice of God telling me this
Exactly.
the decision to make.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it's usually such an interesting piece because other people might not get it.
Yeah.
But you know what you're feeling in your spirit.
Yeah.
So that piece is always such a big thing that God is speaking. And you know, you've said how you do your devotions and blah. God speaks to us through his word.
Yeah.
We get to build our relationship through spending time with him. You built your relationship with Mathu to a point of getting married because you were spending time together. And you now know him so well that even if Mathu called you on a different line right now and said, oh, does he call you Althea? What does he call you? Babe?
Yeah,
okay.
babe.
If he said babe, you're
Yeah.
like, that's my husband.
Yeah.
Because you spend time with him. And you know, even now I have to spending time with God has to be intentional. It's me saying, God, I want to invest in this relationship because it matters to me. It matters to me that I hear you when you speak and what you're telling me to do.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not even, there's nothing like dramatic or anything going on in my life, but I'll get into the word and something will leap out for me and I'm like, that's what I needed to hear today. So it's different ways. It could be something that somebody close to you said, you know, because also sometimes out here we go looking for the voices from, you know, big prophets and you know, there's a place for all of that. But sometimes God could speak through your mom.
Yeah.
You know, it's very close people. A sibling could say something, your friend could say something, and they're not necessarily pastors or anything like that, but just someone who's very close to you could say something and you're like, yeah, God needed me to hear that. Yeah,
that's so true. We're on the same wavelength. I agree. And I think you've touched on it a bit, but if you could go deeper, who or what played a major role in helping you embrace your voice? Yeah.
My parents played a really big role. The one thing I remember about my dad, may he rest in peace, is he always told me to embrace my uniqueness. You know, my dad was always so big on that. He affirmed who I was constantly. And you know, it would be the simplest things like, Kambua, you have a very beautiful smile. And why that was important for me is I have a gummy smile. And, you know, in school, because kids tease each other a lot, I would smile. And so I remember a friend saying, oh my gosh, why do your gums show when you smile? But then there was another voice here that for me had greater influence and impact that was saying, you have a very beautiful smile. So, you know, that there was constant affirmation with the things that I was doing. My mom, with my music, with my singing and being in ministry, they were affirming, they were rubber stamping what I was doing. In the same way, they were also discouraging other things that I was trying to do. And then it got to a place where I was no longer as dependent on them affirming me as I was at the time, and started to now be like, okay, I can, this is what I'm called to do. I can do this thing. And really moving from that exterior affirmation of the people, the mentors, to getting to that place where I can say the Holy Spirit affirms me, even now, even today. You know, that every day he tells me, you can do this, you get up, you've got this. Some days being harder than others. Him telling me, I have called you, I've given you everything that you need. So I feel like the more as you grow, that also matures
as well.
Yeah.
And looking back on your journey, is there any time you've ever felt silenced or unsure of your voice, and how did you navigate through that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have felt silenced. There are seasons where I have felt silenced. You know, especially like the work that I do is very public
facing.
Very public. That means that everybody and their mother have an opinion of you, of how you look, how you sound, how you. And in the beginning, because I'm very introverted, I really like my space. So if I had a choice, I would have had the music out there and you never get to know who I am. So getting out there, being public was so difficult for me in the beginning because it would take, people go on your YouTube, and I'm so glad nowadays YouTube you cannot what was that they had before?
Likes, was it?
Yeah,
The
likes,
dislike.
dislikes,
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
you
just likes. You can't
likes,
dislike.
exactly. Because I mean, imagine you put like we've
Yeah.
had a conversation
Yeah.
like this, you put so much into doing this,
Mm-hmm.
and then someone just goes on YouTube and
Dislikes. Yeah.
you're like, oh my, it would hurt.
Yeah.
Or the people who just get on and they're like, I don't like Kambua, I don't even know why, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't know me, but
Yeah.
you don't like me, you don't even know
No,
why.
that's your problem.
That's
Yeah.
your problem.
Surely.
But I didn't have the muscle because I was so much younger.
Yeah.
I didn't have the muscle to be like, those are your issues,
Yeah.
you're deflecting.
Yeah.
I would look inward and I'm
Yeah.
like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Am I not doing something right?
Mm.
And I realized that slowed me down quite a bit, where I would be so much in my head. Does this look right? Does it sound right? Will people like it? And I think it's such a trap because people's expectations, they keep shifting. It's like a moving goalposts.
Yeah.
I will do what you want me to do today, and then tomorrow you'll be like, oh, we don't like that actually. Do it like this, and then I'll do. It's so exhausting.
Yeah.
So I had seasons like that, and I'm grateful for those seasons because I got frustrated to a point of telling God, surely this can't be it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
is this what you called me to? And again, just that reminder of Kambua, I made you uniquely, and I gave you the things that I gave you for you intentionally. I did not make a mistake when I gave you a voice that sounds like this. I did not make a mistake when I created you looking like this. I did not make a mistake when I
Yeah.
gave you these gifts. So take them, embrace them. And I think that has brought me to a place of authenticity, which is so beautiful because I don't have to wake up tomorrow trying to remember what I need to be. I am just being, fully being
exactly.
myself.
And in those, sorry. Did
Yeah,
you
it's
finish?
okay.
And I was going to ask, in those moments of silence, when you felt
Yeah.
like you were silenced,
Yeah.
what gave you, did you know like, okay, this is a season I need to be silenced? Or what made you speak up even if you were uncomfortable? Yeah, in those moments.
The reason why I continued to speak up even when I was uncomfortable is because I acknowledged that I did not call myself to ministry. If I had called myself, that would have been a wrap a long time ago.
Yeah.
But then, when I've had those moments of I throw my pity party and at the end of the day, I go to bed. When I wake up in the morning, there's another reminder that Kambua, God called you to this, and I need to keep walking in obedience to what He has called me to do. Is it hard? It's very hard.
Sure.
It's so hard. And
Yeah.
the times I'm kicking and screaming, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Because the easy part would just be
Yeah.
disappear
Yeah.
off the face of this planet,
Yeah.
live your nice life with your
Yes.
kids and your family, and never be
nice,
seen
quiet
again.
life. Yes. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I've given you some music.
Yeah.
Y'all can live
You can
on
be
that.
okay.
and you give yourself all sorts of excuses. You're like, there are many other artists who can minister to you. But that's their calling. What's your calling?
Exactly.
So yes, I could choose to just disappear and live that quiet whatever life, but I don't know that. I don't think I would be happy because I'd be living out of purpose. So being in purpose and walking in obedience means doing even the hard things.
Yeah.
But God, I always say that God doesn't call us to do easy things. He just calls us to be obedient to what He's asked us to do, and to trust that He's given us the grace to navigate every single
And the
season.
tools as well.
And the tools. He's equipped us. He's given us the right people to surround us as we move. Because no one is an island. Even when you feel isolated, like no one gets me, we all have those seasons. God has put people in our lives to help us through the journey. Yeah.
And speaking about tools in those seasons, are there any tools, habits, or practices that have helped you discover and refine your voice?
Tools, practices, yes. One, I guess the one biggest tool, at the risk of, I don't want to over spiritualize this conversation, but it really has been my walk with God is a big tool. It's everything.
Yeah.
It really is everything. And you get it when I say this now because you're a mother.
Yeah.
When you become a mom, because I did not know this pre-motherhood, I didn't know that I'd get to a place where it's difficult to even find time to
pray or read your Bible
and read your, you know. So it's been that but knowing that I need it, that it's
Yeah.
my sustenance,
Yeah.
and carving out the time and the place, whatever that means. If it means 30 minutes before I get home, I'll park somewhere and I'll do it. Or if it means waking up an hour before everybody was sleeping, an hour after, whatever it means, knowing that I need it in order to exist,
Yeah.
right? The other tool that has helped me to find and refine my voice is mentorship.
Yeah.
Because I don't know everything. And I don't know that I'll ever get to a place where I know everything. There's always someone who knows
More. Yeah.
more, who's been where I
You are.
am.
Yeah.
And so I've identified those people. Um, but, learning also to, again, I think because of personality, it's so hard for me to be like, hey, can you walk with me? Or hey, can you help? It's so difficult. But I also realize it's borderline prideful.
Yeah. The ego.
The ego,
is
your
there.
ego.
Yeah.
You're like, you're asking for help, But it's been the best gift I have given to myself has been finding those. For me, it's been very specific, mostly women.
Yeah.
That I've identified and who God has led me to. And the interesting thing is, because you approach someone when you're shaking and sweating and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm braced for rejection, and they're like, yeah, of course,
fine.
and you're like,
Exactly.
yeah,
It was
like
that easy.
it was that easy.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's helped me so much.
Yeah.
Because I'm held accountable.
Yeah.
I'm held on to what I have said I will do. I'm sitting through, I'm learning, so that even as I am passing it on to other people, as I'm teaching and as I'm giving to other people, there's someone who's also giving to me.
you.
So I'm at no point trying to operate on empty, because
Yeah.
it's such a dangerous place to
Yeah.
be. I think those would be main, and then also just developing myself, choosing to develop myself,
Yeah.
and choosing to grow. That every day I want to grow, every day I want to learn something, every day I want to invest in who Kambua is,
Yeah.
and why God has put Kambua here at
Yeah.
this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think those are such insightful tools, because of course there's the mentorship, the relationship with God. For other people, it may be like, for me, I love therapy, so therapy is a tool that I use
That's a
as
good
well.
one.
Yeah,
Yes.
journaling as
Yes,
well. I
yes.
like reading my journal and just looking back. Also, when you
Yeah.
journal, because it's like a marker of where you are. So
Mhm.
sometimes I read like my journals 2 years back,
Yes.
and I'm like, wow, this is where I was.
Yes.
This was what I was struggling with.
Yeah.
Look at how I overcame, or God helped me overcome, and where I am now. So yeah, I really love journaling as well. It helps me reflect
Yes.
as
yes,
well.
Yes. Yeah.
And I had two last questions
Mhm.
before we get into another short segment.
Okay.
What advice would you give to someone who feels lost and unsure of their voice, and how can you advise them to find it?
So I would say, find your voice as you're doing the thing. Don't sit back and wait. When I have it all figured out, when I know what my voice is when I will get up and start doing the thing. Get up and start doing it.
Yeah.
It's in being in that place that things become clear. I like the illustration of, scripture says your word is a lamp to my feet, light to my path. If you imagine a lamp and it's like pitch black over here, the lamp sheds light where my feet are.
Yeah.
And if I move, the light moves.
Yeah.
If I stop, the light stops. And I feel like that's what it is with finding our voice, finding our purpose, is if you just stay, you will only see this far.
Yeah.
But if you keep moving, the light moves with you. So, if it's serving, you get into it and you start serving, and imagine in like a year, 2 years, you'll be like, actually, I'm meant to be in children's ministry. It gets clear.
Yeah.
Actually, I love ushering, or it just gets clear. But when you are actually
Moving.
doing it, when
Yeah.
you're actually moving,
Yeah.
so that's what I'd say. I'd say is the biggest thing. Don't get into that trap of I'm waiting for it to get clear. It gets clear as you go, as you move, because you're growing and your muscle is getting strengthened as you do that.
Wow, no, that is so true. And how would you say your voice has evolved over time, and what has caused those changes?
How has that's a big question, Althea.
We ask deep questions.
You guys are deep.
Because now you're in your 40s.
I am.
The new
girl,
era. I'm sure
yes.
it's evolved from when you're in your 20s.
It has, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it has evolved in the sense that I, as I said, that I'm so clear about who I am,
Yeah.
or much clearer about who I am. And so I feel that the confidence comes through as well. I'm not unsure of what I'm saying. I'm not unsure of what I'm doing. My voice has become clear because I'm also able to say no.
Yeah.
That was a hard thing for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I am able to make my boundaries very clear. I'm able to. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and I was telling them that I had a conversation with someone I care about, and she wanted to give me feedback on something. And I asked her, is that feedback beneficial to me? Not is it positive or negative criticism,
Yeah.
whatever.
Is
Is
it
it beneficial to
Yeah.
me? And so she thinks about it for a while. She's like, actually, Kambua, I don't think it is. I said, okay,
Yeah,
don't tell me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's me creating my boundaries
Yes.
because I don't want toxicity in my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I am okay. I'll take negative and positive criticism if it's beneficial. It will help me grow. It will help me get better. So, I feel that my voice has changed in that way. I'm more assertive, I'm more firm, but I'm also, I don't subscribe to the school of, love must be tough,
Yeah.
tough love. And I think love is kind. So, also loving people with kindness and with grace. But just that place where I feel very settled in who I am and very ready for God to show me the next, and that I'm aware that I'm at 40. That's been a lot of years, but I have many more years ahead.
go, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, God, show me what's our next adventure. I'm
Yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah.
So yes, that's how my voice has changed over time. What was the follow-up for that question?
And what caused those changes?
Oh, okay. What caused those changes is growth. Is growth, it's experience, my experiences in life, my experience with God, my experience with people, relationships, growing in ministry, growing in the work that I do, learning, understanding things better, age being a factor. So it's a lot of things.
A whole like myriad of things, which is true, and I think rings true for so many other people. So I wanted to end with two fun questions. Number one, if your voice was a color, song, or piece of art, what would it be?
Ooh. I'll say white.
Oh, nice. Why white?
I love the color white because of its purity.
Yeah.
And it's gentle. White is gentle, but white is also strong. Doesn't have to shout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say white.
Yeah, that's that's interesting, and I like the way you've explained why white. But now that you said it, I see it. Do you like white? Do you wear a lot of white?
I love white.
Me too. I love white.
I wear
it's
a
my
lot
favorite.
of white.
Every day, every birthday, I wear white.
Yes.
I don't know. It's like my signature thing.
I've also done so many white birthdays.
Yeah.
So my 40th, my husband's like,
because it was black. You did
yes,
black, yeah?
Black,
yeah. I follow you. I was there seeing the balloons and everything. And then, was
black.
it 40 roses? What? 200 roses?
200 roses.
Hey.
Oh my gosh, yes,
yeah.
girl.
How did you carry that? Was it heavy?
It was very heavy.
Yeah.
Yes, it was very heavy.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And congratulations, yes,
Thank
on turning
you.
40. And my last question,
Yeah.
if you could give your younger self one piece of advice about finding your voice, looking back, what would it be?
Oh my goodness, stop worrying too much about what people think about you. That's what I would tell a younger Kambua.
Yeah.
Stop worrying too much.
Yeah.
It's okay. Give yourself the grace to learn and to grow, and to fail. Don't be too uptight about stuff. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good advice for younger
what
Kambua
would you
in her
tell
20s.
younger Alpia?
About finding her voice.
Yeah.
I think I would say stop worrying. I'm such a control freak. I like to know, like even now, I know my hairstyle for next month.
Okay.
That's how much of a planner I am. I know the next nails artwork. I have a whole album for hairstyle. Like that's how much I plan.
Yeah.
So it's too much sometimes.
Yes.
And also being a Christian, not everything can be in your control.
Correct.
Even my journey into motherhood, I shared. A lot of it was a bit hard for me because motherhood is a journey you cannot control, as you know.
Yeah.
Like that newborn will cry at 3 a.m., 3:10. Like it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
So I would tell my younger self, because I used to like controlling a lot. This is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
This is where I'm gonna go to school. This is the job I'm gonna get. Then get so disappointed when one small thing goes off my plan.
Yes.
So I would say just let go of the reins.
Yeah.
Do your part by trusting in God, praying to Him. Know all His plans are good and pleasing for you and perfect, and just lean on that.
I love that. I love that so much, and I feel like that in so many ways summarizes my life story.
As well.
You know, just the whole. I was a very serious planner.
Yeah.
So I had it all worked out. You know, I knew by 25 I'd be married. The time I'm 30, I've had my
kids.
2 kids, at most 3.
Yeah.
Then we're raising them through our 30s. Let me tell you, when I walked into a maternity ward at 37 years old, or like, got married at much later than I thought, I realized we really do plan, but ultimately it's God's will that prevails.
Yeah.
And we have to be open to God taking our lives through different detours.
Exactly.
And just trusting that, imagine there will be grace for you even if it looks different than what you
had imagined or planned.
Yeah.
And in those seasons, or there's a lesson to be learned.
Yes.
When something is not going to your plan, there's a lesson that God is trying to teach you.
Absolutely.
I guess.
Rebecca
So
Dawn, I was having a chat with her the other day. You know Rebecca Dawn? Okay, go look for her on YouTube. Her music, I'm sure you know her music, maybe.
Okay.
She has one very popular song called Kutembea Nawe.
Okay.
Anyway, Rebecca Dawn was telling me how she has a song called Thank You for the No. You know, because we don't thank God for the times He says no. You're like,
you're annoyed, tantrums,
you're
sulking,
mad. Yes,
I'm never believing. I'm not a Christian anymore. I'm an atheist from
God
today.
hurt me. You know, and while that pain is valid, we have to remember that the nature of God doesn't change.
Yeah.
And that when He says no to you, the times I tell my child no is because I know it's not good for you at this time.
And you still love them.
I love them
telling
so
them no.
deeply.
In fact, you even love them. That's why you're telling them no.
Exactly. If I didn't love them, I'd let them do whatever they want. You want a knife, take it. You want to touch the fire, fine. You want to drown in the, do whatever you want. But because I love them, I will say no.
Yeah.
And if we have that understanding that God as a father loves us so deeply that His no is for our good, and that if we hang in long enough, we will see it.
Yeah.
Because He gives us an opportunity to see and be like, oh my gosh, that's why God said no that time. Yeah. So.
Wow, we could continue for ages, but that's been so insightful, such nuggets of wisdom. Thank you so much for coming and sharing those insightful, just I feel like I've had a little bit of a glimpse into your life and your journey, because a lot of us, as I said, we admire you. We see the amazing polished Kambua, with her influence and everything, but there has been a journey to get there. So thanks for being vulnerable and open.
Thank you, Althea.
And pouring into us. And I'm sure you guys have also learned a thing or two as well. So please, like, share the episode as well. Comment down below. Tell us if there's anything that stood out for you, something that you're taking away from this episode. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.